Welcome to another episode of the Minx Labrada Mysterious World podcast. Once again, I'll be your host, Minx Labrada. Join us as we look at our mysterious world, won't you? Okay, what we're doing here, we're going to say that this is our product. I'm not getting anything by this, but we are going to promote Bitcoin. I am a Bitcoin holder. You should be too. What are you doing with Bitcoin? When you hold it and you hold your own keys, you have your own bank. You've permanently taken that money out of the fiat currency central banking cartel's grasp. Hence, less money for funding terrorism. Now, I'm not going to go as far as Nolan at Bitcoin Magazine and Michael Saylor do of Michael Saylor and say, oh yeah, aircraft carriers are over. Blah, blah, blah. All right. October 7th pretty much ended. All bets are off on that. You know, there are savages on Earth, and you're going to need aircraft carriers and special forces and precision called fire and rescue type operations to be able to transition the medieval savage world into the modern Bitcoin future. Okay. That's all I'm saying about that. Thank you very much. Hold Bitcoin, get some. Hold it in your own hardware wallet offline. Thank you, if you can. But definitely learn how to hold your own keys. All right, here's the eclipse today at my house. Yep, nothing. Oak trees. It was a beautiful day other than that. Now, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to @TexasMaddie, known as Deep Ancient Thought on X. And that would be TEXASMADDE. TEXAS, like Texas, MADDE. Deep Ancient Thought is the name of the handle. Sent me an interesting image, and we got into a little interesting exchange of, is that still called a tweet or X's? I don't know. Got into a little exchange and very educational. Sounds like this person knows way more about ancient history than I do, because I asked them to DM me and be a guest. But until then, I'll just flap my yapper with a little bit of research that I did on Gilgamesh. Clearly, the first thing that stands out is dude is holding a full-size lion. All right. I got a Maine Coon cat. Huge. Might be about the same same proportion. So let me see. Let's see. I would be like 15 feet tall. Yeah. So was Gilgamesh 15 feet tall? Maybe 18, something like that. Also holding a whip in a lot of these, which also goes with the whole, you know, big, heavy kind of ruler over humans type thing. And kind of supports the Zachariah Sitchin thing a bit, in that they came here and used humans as slaves to dig gold or whatever they were doing. Might have not just been gold. I think a lot of people have kind of debunked him for a bit, but also find him to be just massively fascinating still. Here's another image of Gilgamesh. This time in one arm, holding the paws of the lion as if it is subdued. Very interesting. I'm sure even if you're a big giant, you don't want, I wouldn't want my cat going to town on me. So you see, the cats are, they punch way above their weight. So, if you're able to grab a lion like that, that's fantastic. Also, notice when he wears this jewelry, is it in the other one as well? Yeah. On both wrists, is always depicted on both wrists of having these things that might be some technology. I'm not 100% convinced that if there were giants on Earth, that they're naturally occurring. It might be from, a planet with more intense gravity. If you had more intense gravity, wouldn't you need to be a bigger, stronger person to survive there? Or would you be a short little squat kind of, we don't know. I guess we'll find out when we get to a planet with intense gravity. Wow, gravity is 1.5. How big are the people? First thing we want to know. Here's another depiction of Gilgamesh where it looks like he's killed a Brahma bull and he's flailing it out and he's got a boner. I mean, all right. So not only was Gilgamesh renowned for being a giant and a ruler with a whip, but also depraved acts, apparently. That's nice there. Look at the smirk on his face, too. You think people are cheering? Cheer! Hit us with that whip. Here's another one with the whip. Interesting in the side view, his hair looks like a pharaoh headdress. And these people are freaking out. And he's got the big whip, and they're pushing what might be casing stones. See that? The shape of them might be casing stones over the pyramid. Maybe the giants made the pyramid part itself and used the cutting tools for the big parts. And they used the slaves for like, oh yeah, you're going to do the casing stones, you pigs. Maybe. Hey, here's another one of Gilgamesh. This looks like it's in iron, whoever made this, or steel, or whatever medium this is. And he's got the lion again, and what is this, like a book of rules? Some kind of knowledge he's handing down? Is that the symbology part itself? And then look at his legs. I mean, he's got calves like an Olympic cyclist. His whole legs. Look at his thighs. Rah! Like Eric Heiden or something. And then the beard and the hair. That had to have been the fashion back then, because there's no way he just did that. He had a hair and makeup person or something. He was a star. I wonder what happened if he didn't get it right. And there again, his little watches again are those whatever. Not in this one, though. He doesn't have them, but it's a little smaller, and he's next to what looks like, let's just face it, the devil. Of course, the devil in this one doesn't have a pitchfork. It's a spear, but you see his little goat feet there. And again, Gilgamesh with his lion holding his whip. Both of them just sourpuss faces. I think if you're friends with the devil, you're probably a jerk anyway. And both of them just have this sourpuss face. Might as well just be evil and total buttholes the rest of our life, because I have goat feet and a stupid sour goat ears and stupid horns. Nah, so I'm just going to be a jerk, is kind of what I think's going on there. And here's another look at Gilgamesh. Looks like he's wearing his evening finery here. So something was going on. A big night out for the Titans or something, right? And I like the little detail here with the lion's biting down on his arm. And he's got the little squiggly lines on the nose. That's pretty cool. But really good detail on his eye watches, or whatever those are, his Android watches. I guess it's not a feeling, but just based on all the research I've done and all the evidence out there, I don't think the giants were only giant, just people. I feel we're talking about what? Exactly. We're talking about technology, like aliens that were giant, I think is what makes sense. Maybe they're from a world where there's so much gravity you had to be that big to move around. And when they came on Earth, they're even stronger. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. What happens on a planet with super gravity? You get like real short and squat, strong, like a super, just a gnome guy. Or are you a giant? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out when we get, maybe Elon Musk's Starship will answer that question for us. Here's some images I did in Midjourney AI, and I didn't use the term giant. I used the term Anunnaki, because the Anunnaki and Gilgamesh are thrown around together in a lot of circles. And of course, AI is, it's using the entire internet as, source material. So I think it's interesting that that's what it put together. Also, didn't even say anything about UFOs, and there's like two aircraft looking things, but with contrails. Very interesting. Kind of looks like a storm giant in one of them. And this one very Pharaoh-esque with, again, another UFO kind of thing going here in this pyramid thing. And then this one almost entirely Norse god looking, which again is very interesting. There's so many of these myths in so many different genres or so many different cultures that are similar, which makes you think it was the same entity or same being. Here's another one I did mid-journey, and it spit it out more as like a cross between Moai and Central American type of art. I really like even that one at the very end actually kind of looks like a Moai, where the some a little closer look a little bit more Central American. So there again, the fact that I told Mid-Journey to do this and it found Central American and Moai in the giant myth, you're kind of getting a Nielsen rating of the internet when you tell it to find just kind of general things and what it throws together. And this is, again, this giant looking thing with people in front of it, very cinematic. And in fact, I did tell on this one and this one, I told it cinematic, and I told the style Stanley Kubrick, but really this one looks more Ray Harryhausen. That one looks Stanley, but that looks like a Ray Harryhausen right there. That just looks so cheesy. Although it's very cool, it's also just really cheesy. And here's another one that looks more like a concept drawing from maybe Wayne Barlow. Like if you asked Wayne Barlow, yeah, hey, give me some Egyptian-looking Anunnaki, and maybe they had a really amazing stone cutting technology. And, oh, well, maybe they're stone type creatures. But that's fascinating. And then kind of brings me to Jeremy Clarkson, which I know that's a huge jump, but you just bear with me for a minute. And not just Jeremy Clarkson. There are other large men throughout history that have accomplished a lot. Okay. Did I leave the guy up? I hope I didn't drop it. The guy, Lurch from, you know what? I did that. I couldn't find enough information on him. I do apologize for that break. But the information I did on the guy that played Lurch, I can't remember his name now, but he always wanted to do more than what Hollywood ever gave him roles. The guy could play piano. He was a writer. He was an artist. He was like this Renaissance man that was just massive, and he suffered from a hormone imbalance that never turned off his growth hormone. So he just got huge, right? And he had I don't really know how it all ended for him. But is what I'm saying is, like, these Anunnaki were giant and super technology and apparently smart. And I'm probably going to get some hate for this, which is fine, because Jeremy Clarkson can be quite an ass. And it's probably one of the people that you don't want to approach if you see out in the bush, out in the wild, because he admits he'll just tell you to fuck off. And, and he smokes cigarettes and stuff. And you don't want to be around that, just maybe, wave hi or whatever. He'll probably tell you to fuck off, right? Whatever. Thanks for making me laugh. That might be appreciated. Gratitude's always works. Okay. But is what I'm saying, he created this format that I want to say 500 million people on Earth know who he is, which is huge. And all out of a car show, and he's got this giant head, and he's tall. Maybe this isn't the best one to show, but you should be able to tell Yeah, there's a guy in the back. Okay, that is in the back. But just look how small the glass is in his hand. He has some giantism going on there. He's got this giant head, and the Mr. Willman, the guy that's the producer of Top Gear, I'm calling him Mr. Willman. I can't think of his first name. And I guess just out of respect, people just call him Mr. Willman. But Mr. Willman says Jeremy just came up with the Stig, which is a brilliant idea. Why do we even need, because they were coming up, they needed somebody to be a test driver for their cars. So all the cars had the same tester, right? So you had a baseline, which was a race car driver. So you could get the most out of every car that they would, right? And they would have the little scoreboard on times on the same track. So Clarkson came up with the idea, why do we even need to introduce him as another character? That just makes things more complicated. He'll just have a helmet and a suit and say nothing, which turned out to be really fascinating and also very efficient because you don't have to introduce the guy and you're time. Come on. I don't know if anybody here listening has ever worked on a Hollywood type situation movie. I did in Orlando and a little bit in Atlanta, and you don't have time for stuff. You just gotta get to the next setup and shoot. And if you're able to scrub time that efficiently, and then while at the same time making an icon, okay, you need to acknowledge the genius. Plus the whole format and the three guys going out and doing and turning a car show into comedy has to be acknowledged as genius. And I have a hypothesis that he's able to drift because his head is so large that it has its own gravity sphere, so when he drives, his head is fighting Earth just a little bit, and what it does is it gets the rear tires just a little bit more off the ground than like a normal human being, which is why he can drift so well, even though he's mechanically inept, right? That's the only thing that makes sense is his head has a gravity well. So enough for picking on Clarkson. Here's an image that was sent to me from Texas Maddie. Is that the name again? I feel bad. I've only just began to interact with this person. Deep Ancient Thought. Yes, Texas Maddie. And what is it? It's cave paintings of what looks like a UFO, and it looks like something with a big head and some people under the UFO. And then also, what's going on with this spiral? That looks a lot like, I know that looks like what's supposed to be a rocket out of control, but I'm still not 100% buying that one on, what was that, the Norway spiral? Maybe. That one just seemed weird because it started to spiral and then didn't go anywhere like the other spirals do. I could be completely wrong about that. And then maybe the other spirals were like a form of visual debunking, like I described before when I saw the amber UFOs over Tiger Point that broke up, like one big one, and then it went, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 16, and then a bunch of little ones, and then it reformed big. And then the next weekend, there was a C-130 towing a flare over the neighborhood, kind of roughly the same color. Almost like a challenge to, hey, you didn't see what you thought you saw. It was this kind of thing, right? So maybe that's what the spiral things are after that initial spiral. Because don't you think with all the rocketry going on, that we'd have seen a spiral? And then the timing of that, it was Obama going over to Norway for something, and then there was I don't know what was going on there. Maybe it was a warning from Russia. Don't be an idiot. I don't know. Not like they're not idiots, too. It's like the whole world's run by idiots. Fiat currency idiots. Putin was all like, oh, yeah, America's going to go to the wayside, not be number one anymore, because we're going to form a new fiat currency. And I wonder how much Bitcoin he holds. Because if it's done, you can do all the fiat currency you want there, pal. And it might last in your lifetime, but you're not going to leave a good legacy. Here's some more images. Again, this giant thing depicted in Egypt. UFO stuff all through history, of course. The classic gray alien type look. And this one down here in the bottom corner, that was a woodcut from Germany in 14 something, where the guy depicted a battle in space. You know, and that's another thing. The more you try to research the Dark Ages, and the more you don't accept, yeah, we lost all that knowledge. Really? What if that was the invasion? People are always talking about alien invasion. Well, what if the Dark Ages there was an alien invasion? Nope, can't have this Christianity stuff. Oh no, Jesus Christ came and taught people to love each other, and we got to come down and rain hell. Lizard people, giant people, bird people, who knows what? Meddling jerks. Now, the other thing that Texas Maddie shared, aka Deep Ancient Thought, that might take me a while to get those two connected in my head, was this image that, you know, they're wondering, well, why is this shaped like this? This is like either an Army or Air Force type of installation. And then really one of the reasons they do that is efficiency, because you could do circles, but then there is one big circle, but then the circles, if you get it wrong, it just doesn't look tidy. And there are SAM sites, surface to air missiles, and maybe even ICBM sites that are arranged like this. It wasn't the highest quality image, but is what it looks like to me with the built up sand dunes is like maybe a fuel dump. And there might be also, if the sand is dug up high enough, there'd be a door on it. And then that would actually be an ammo locker. One of my jobs in the Marines was hazardous waste driver. So I got to be in a lot of ammo dumps and had access to all that. And all of them basically look the same. They're all built to where if like the whole thing blows, it's not leaving that building. It's all, okay. It might, there was a good visualization, well, with a nuke in a tunnel on a Jack Ryan episode, that in microcosm, that's kind of what an ammo dump would look like. You know, nothing would not happen, but it wouldn't blow the whole base apart. All right. Now, Deep Ancient Thought sent me this one, and this one right here just really blows my mind, because what's going on here? Is that insect boy right there, or is that chicken boy? I don't know what's going on. Was that just a crap artist? Or was there a guy that looked like a chicken with like a chicken tail and backwards knees, and he's gesturing to people behind him? These people aren't chicken people. How you doing there, King? And then you could see he's taller. His legs are longer. He's sitting down, but he's their height, which would also be Gilgamesh. And what was there just, and there's the guy with the horns again. So were these, was this an international kind of, or interdimensional or interstellar operation where they came to Earth to do what they were going to do? It's just so strange. But is what this guy reminded me of here in the middle with the backwards knees and the kind of, even insect-like proportions. You could be you don't have to be a chicken. In fact, that is more insect-like, the way it sticks out like the abdomen of a wasp or a mantid type person. And then there are the mantid type peoples in the alien abduction stories sometimes, or alien encounters. They've encountered mantid type people. So it made me think of Babylon 5. That was a series in the 90s that used light wave to render out all the space scenes. That was like I was a graphic artist at the time with a military contractor, and there were people like me that used 3D Studio Max, and then there were MAX, 3D Studio Max from Discrete, and you used that on a PC. And then there were the Macintosh people, and they all used Lightwave. So there was this whole thing, Max versus Lightwave versus Max. And, I will say Lightwave always had a superior render engine in that you didn't have to tell it to give you all these nice ray traced kind of effects. But is what Babylon 5 was basically about, or like one of the story arcs, were that there were these shadows that looked like these kind of insect people that would manipulate governments and sow chaos for what they said was to allow the species to grow. And I'm not going to get into, I don't want to ruin the series for you. It's worth a look. It's a little sad too watching it, because I watched it on the first run, that now when I read the names of the cast and see those faces, some of the people I even met when I used to go to Dragon Con when I lived in Atlanta. And so many of those people are gone now. They're dead. Bruce Boxleitner's still alive, and a few others are, but a lot of that cast is gone, and it's a bit shocking. You know what else happened to me the other day? I admitted I spammed some friends, my podcast. If you can't spam friends, who can you spam? Right? But they get it. But I noticed as I went through that list, some of the people in my contacts are gone. That'll hit you right between the eyes. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but that really blew my mind. So Babylon 5 has they're called the shadows, and they're 5 space beings in that they have the ability to phase out of our existence, but still be in the same room, which is very David Icke talks about how these dark entities will inhabit like a bush or whatnot, which I just think is fascinating. So, and of course their spaceships were very ominous and spider-like, and it's just a really cool series. I don't want to give away how it works, but or how it all went. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna put my headphones on here. I did find a video, and I have a hypothesis about why the show was canceled. I very specifically remember, this is back when, to listen to David Icke, you're probably listening to him on Jeff Rentz on The Real Player or Divx, if you remember those. And a lot of the stuff they were talking about seemed to kind of come out in Babylon 5 in a, representational way. Because David Icke would talk about like lizard type entities inhabiting and controlling like the Bushes or whoever, the royals or whatnot. And Babylon 5's active little possessor, meddler type creature were the insect type people they called the shadows. I think that's what they're called, the shadows. But let's go ahead and just play this to give you one of the reasons why I think it was canceled, and I'll just go ahead and tell you before I play it, is that the actual so-called good guy forces get technology transfer with the shadows. Hence, they engage these, they're kind of like the rebellion against the overlord. They're using like the big government, the jackboot of Earth's big government and Earth Force with the dark shadow controllers. So the shadow controllers gave them some of their technology. And these people here were all out in space and realizing, oh my God, our homeworld's turned sour. We need to go deal with these idiots or they're going to kill us all. And here's what happened. And I think this is part of why the show was canceled. Now, granted, Michael J. Straczynski, I think is his name. I've heard him go on some pretty hardcore anti-Trump rants. And he was like, oh yeah, and we did all this. He could, you know, and how'd we predict that the shadow was Trump or whatever? I don't know if he said that. But now, you know, and like, what are you going to do? You know, the Hollywood types, it's so saturated with the whole Hollywood thing. And I was in it for a bit on a really low entry level type of situation. But I got exposed to it enough. And you know what they say, you know, about exposure, too much of it will kill you. And so once I realized, wow, there's some unwholesome crap going on here. Let me get the hell out. And not to mention just being lied to and like you're supposed to live with it and, you know, take it, you know, I'm not doing it. Anyway, I felt that two pieces of information in these two scenes I'm going to play or why the show got canceled, because similar to how I covered how The Matrix gave away too much information, I think these two scenes give you a little bit of an insight into the mad globalist elites that may be in league with a dark controlling entity force, a la David Icke's research. And I think if you give that away, even creatively by, you know, art precedes reality. There's a whole lecture. There was a lecture on that I listened to, and I still go back to it because it's true. And I think they gave away the baby with the bathwater here, and they got punished for it with cancellation. At least that's the story I'm sticking with. I have to laugh at myself because I know it sounds a little crazy, but let's go ahead. And I'll comment on this in case you're at home, if you're not watching, if you're listening.
Anything on the scanners?
Nothing. Maybe the information was wrong.
No, we're not that lucky. Check the...
Wait a minute. Getting something.
Okay. And then these big wormholes open up. And she's worried, looking at it. Uh-oh. Now you find out.
Confirmed. Scanners indicate that the destroyers are using a semi-organic hull design.
Yeah.
Shadow technology.
What does that sound like? Semi-organic.
I knew they got their hands on a shadow vessel.
Does that remind you of anything going on now?
Technology this quickly.
This is Captain Jake Thompson of the Advanced Destroyer Group to enemy vessels. We have you surrounded. You are ordered to surrender your vessels or be destroyed. I say again, surrender or be destroyed.
Put me on with him.
Lucky for us, they don't give up.
Control.
Well, not that this happened, just saying.
This is the White Star Fleet. Negative on surrender. We will not stand down.
Really gorgeous design here, all done in Lightwave. Very organic looking ships. And then this is also like a hybrid ship. If you followed the series of two different technologies. But I think one of the rules that they broke,
Identify yourself.
that maybe they shouldn't have, is on their interior sets. When you do sci-fi, you're not supposed to have any normal straight walls. Everything you need angles and stuff to make people to believe it's in space. It's a minor infraction, not a big one, but I think if you're going to do a sci-fi series, you want to see hexagonal passageways and and weirder looking walls, tubes, angles, all that. This just, I don't know. It's a bit soap opera in space is what this one is, but don't not watch it because I said that, just a minor criticism. I still think for the time this was made in the 90s, it still looks pretty good with the space stuff, even though video games have caught up to it. It still works.
Who am I? I am Susan Ivanova, commander, daughter of Andrei and Sophie Ivanov. I am the right hand of vengeance, and the boot that is gonna kick your sorry ass all the way back to Earth, sweetheart. I am death incarnate,
Oh, yeah.
and the last living thing that you are ever going to see.
I mean, if you're getting ready to do what's going to be shown on this little scene, that's pretty good. I'd like to see a Marine say that to some jackasses trying to hold a beach.
God sent me.
Yeah, that's still pretty good though. Yeah, they got a lot of those. Yeah, they did a good job with the animation. And, all right. So let's just stop that there. We don't need to do the whole battle. But that's the main thing, is that they're fighting human forces that are mechanical technology from a dark alien force. I wonder if that's what H.R. Giger tapped into when he did all of his weird biomechanical drawings. He'd be a fascinating guy to do a podcast about. Really creepy, but fascinating. Okay, now here's the one that I think is maybe most significant for the situation we're in now, and really what was the last straw. After this episode, Babylon 5 was canceled. And then we didn't find the rest of the episodes. I didn't even know there were going to ever be more episodes until it ended up on streaming. Okay? So they, at least where I lived, nope, sorry. Y'all have crossed the line. But it's really interesting when you consider the lunatics that are in DC right now, the scene that transpires here. So listen up.
Put it through and route it to the rest of the ships.
Captain Sheridan, this is an emergency transmission. President Clark is dead. He took his own life before we could arrest him. But he left a message on his desk. 2 words. Scorched Earth. Captain, I believe
That
he's
just
turned
gives
the
me
defense
chills.
grid toward Earth. We can't override the systems here. If
I'm
you
still
don't
having
stop
chills.
them, they'll fire in 10 minutes.
And then, of course, they had the big battle, and I'm not going to play it all because it's exciting. You should check it out. But if that doesn't give you chills, you might need to get a checkup. What is wrong with you? So, highly recommend that series, Babylon 5. Again, the story arc with the shadows is absolutely fascinating, and they represent chaos. And there's a bunch of really interesting races. And because they saved money in visual effects using Lightwave, the costumes are amazing. I forgot the name of it. There's these lizard type people, and they're pretty scary looking with the red eyes. And there's these other people that look kind of like Napoleon, and they got crazy hair that looks like a Napoleon hat. They just got really super creative with it, and it's definitely worth your time. And also an interesting piece of pop culture that got canceled for the classic adage of art precedes reality. Can't let them do that. And I guess J. Michael Straczynski's lucky he didn't get too close like the Matrix did and got tricked into being a woman. That's what happened. I'm sticking to that story, that the Wachowski brothers were punished for giving away the secret by being fed some, I don't know, what do? Do you beam that information into someone's head? How do you do that? I don't know how you grow up as a man, experience life as a man, and then decide to be a woman. If it happened really early, I guess, without the influence of, trans story hour and all that, and the people pushing and all the plastics messing with people's hormones and whatnot. I mean, it's a free country. People can do that if they want to do that. And as Eric July said, leave the kids alone, right? It's an adult situation meant for adults. Thank you. This is the Minx Labrada Mysterious World podcast. Thank you very much for your time. And don't ever forget, it's another great day in America. We're not going to let the ninnies get us down. Don't worry about the ninnies and the twits. That's a good Devo knowledge for you. I'll leave you with today. So thank you very much for your time. So that's all we have for the Minx Labrada's Mysterious World podcast all day. Thank you very much for your time. It's another great day in America. Thank you.